Welcome to our YouTube channel, where we bring you insightful book summaries. Today, we're diving into The Innovator's Dilemma: When New Technologies Cause Great Firms to Fail by Clayton M. Christensen. Clayton M. Christensen, a Harvard Business School professor, explores the challenges faced by successful companies when disruptive technologies enter the market. In this book, he explains how established companies can often fail to innovate due to their focus on sustaining rather than disruptive technology. So, let's dive into the summary of this incredible book. But before we dive into the content, I kindly request a moment of your time to appreciate this video by liking it, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Christensen introduces the concept of disruptive innovation, where smaller and less established companies introduce new technologies that eventually disrupt the market and overthrow dominant players. This disruption is not immediate but typically happens over time, catching industry leaders off guard. The book argues that successful companies often follow a pattern of making incremental improvements to their existing products, known as sustaining innovations. However, they overlook the potential threat of disruptive technologies that may initially seem inferior but eventually gain traction with customers. The Innovator's Dilemma is a business classic that explains the power of disruption, why market leaders are often set up to fail as technologies and industries change, and what incumbents can do to secure their market leadership for a long time. The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen explains how successful companies fail by sticking to their established business models, overlooking disruptive innovations. It offers a framework to help managers anticipate and respond to market changes. The Innovator's Dilemma explains why so many well-established companies fail dismally when faced with the emerging markets they create. This one focuses on one of the book's central themes: disruptive innovation. Clayton M. Christensen was a professor at Harvard Business School and one of the foremost management researchers in the world. He wrote numerous books and more than 100 articles. The Economist named his book The Innovator's Dilemma as one of the 6 most important business books ever. The Innovator's Dilemma is a thought-provoking exploration of disruptive innovation, explaining why successful companies often fail to adapt to new technologies. Here's why this book is worth reading. Provides a new perspective on innovation, challenging conventional wisdom and offering insights into the challenges faced by established companies. Offers numerous real-world examples that illustrate the concepts discussed, making it both relatable and applicable to various industries. Presents a compelling argument for the need to balance short-term gains with long-term innovation, keeping readers engaged and invested in the topic. The Innovator's Dilemma has been on my list forever. The reason I kept putting it off was that I remembered seeing this book very early on. But somehow, their English version has disappeared. Today, I finally decided to make do with the German version and give it a go. Shortly after Steve Jobs died, his biography was released. I read it the year it came out, 2011, and remember one thing very clearly from it. Steve Jobs said The Innovator's Dilemma had deeply influenced him. There weren't many books Steve referenced throughout the interviews with his biographer, let alone business books. Naturally, I was curious about the one entrepreneurship book the guy who built the most valuable company in the world built. Likely, it was precisely because he recognized and solved the dilemma described in the book. Here are 3 lessons of what it's about. There are 2 kinds of technologies: disruptive and sustaining. If a company's resources, processes, and values don't match the market, no management can save it. Market leaders can solve the Innovator's Dilemma by acquiring or founding subsidiaries. If you want to be an innovator, let's lift the veil of the dilemma you'll have to solve and how you can do just that. Lesson 1. There is disruptive technology and sustaining technology, and innovation works differently for the 2. I'm not sure if Peter Thiel referenced this book in his business manifesto 0 to 1, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn this is where he got the idea from. Clayton Christensen published The Innovator's Dilemma in 1997 and with it, disrupted the way leaders talk about technological progress. He distinguishes between 2 kinds of technologies: sustaining technologies. These focus on growing existing technologies by enhancing their performance, mostly through extended functionality or increased capacity. Disrupting technologies. These change the landscape of an entire industry or spark a new one altogether, because they solve a problem in an entirely new way or for an entirely new group of people. As you can imagine, established businesses and market leaders shine when it comes to the first kind. They have built up enormous efficiencies and vast amounts of resources, which make it easy to provide incremental progress at scale. Where incumbents often lack imagination and swiftness is in disruption. For example, while it was a piece of cake for IBM to make hard disks thinner and add storage capacity in the 80s, adopting the new 1.5-inch format didn't come so naturally, as long as the 14-inch disks were still selling the best. Lesson 2. When the resources, processes, and values of a company don't match the target market, even the best management won't help. The reason startups have a chance to overtake industry titans when it comes to disruption is that it starts in low-margin niche markets, because the target customer is often an entirely different one than before. Big companies are slow in serving these, because 2 of the 3 defining factors of a business's culture and capability to act are rigid for them. Resources, anything you can buy, sell, hire, or fire. Processes, patterns of action and communication, both formal and informal. Values, the criteria by which managers and employees make all organizational decisions. Market champions are loaded with resources, but have very hardened processes and a fixed set of values, which rarely matches the new target market of a disruptive innovation. The 3 factors are increasingly hard to change, especially short-term, so it's no wonder a company like Kodak has a tough time giving a new technology like digital cameras the real attention it deserves. When your processes and values don't match the market, disruption forces you to break into. Even the greatest management won't be able to salvage that dilemma. Lesson 3. The way market leaders solve the innovator's dilemma is through equipping independent subsidiaries with what they need. So what do you do then, if you're a leading player in a drastically changing field? Well, first of all, Clayton suggests you should accept the limitations of your processes and values. It's almost impossible to do well in developing both sustaining and disrupting technology from one source. As a result, big businesses usually either try to force the new market to grow too fast. Yes, Apple 1982 was too early for an iPad, or wait too long and end up with a losing position. Here's the solution Christensen proposes. Found or acquire a subsidiary company with the right values and processes, equip it with the necessary resources, and let it do its thing. If you're off in 2 of 3 factors, well, use the third to make up for the other 2. When you have a lot of cash and people, deploy some of those in a bold move to try and build something that matches what the market needs, even before it knows it. This is exactly what IBM did when PCs weren't really a thing yet. By the time they became mainstream, their subsidiary had built up the right processes and values on its own, and voila, IBM raked in huge profits from an industry that wasn't its core focus. That's what Steve Jobs knew, and that's how you solve the innovator's dilemma. Earlier today, I sent a video to a friend that breaks down how everything is just a remix of something that came before it, based on the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. The premise of the innovator's dilemma has obviously been adapted and remixed many times in the 20 years the book has been out, and I wonder what he used to remix into the book himself. However, this seems like one of the few times we get as close to an idea that could be dubbed original as possible, and that alone makes this book worth a read. Then again, maybe you're just curious what Steve Jobs knew that so many others didn't. How to solve the innovator's dilemma. Those are the individuals who truly deserve to immerse themselves in this extraordinary book. Anyone interested in why big companies are so vulnerable to disruptive technologies. Business executives. Anyone who wants to take advantage of technological innovations. The 27-year-old startup founder in training, who thinks his special fruit blender will really change the fitness industry. The 52-year-old Fortune 500 CEO, and anyone who sees his organization slowly falling behind in innovation. As disruptive technologies improve, they eventually reach a point where they can meet the needs of mainstream customers, leading to the downfall of established companies that fail to adapt. Using various case studies from industries like disk drives, steel, and retail, Christensen illustrates how companies like Kodak, Sears, and IBM struggled to adapt to disruptive innovations, ultimately losing their market dominance. The book concludes with valuable insights for businesses on how to navigate the challenges posed by disruptive technologies. Christensen advises companies to create separate divisions to focus on developing and scaling disruptive innovations while ensuring they don't neglect their core business. In a rapidly changing business landscape, the innovator's dilemma serves as a wake-up call for companies to embrace innovation and continually seek new opportunities for growth. Clayton Christensen's groundbreaking work challenges conventional wisdom on innovation and disruption in the business world. He highlights the critical distinction between sustaining innovations that drive incremental improvements and disruptive innovations that reshape industries. Christensen identifies that established companies often struggle with disruptive technologies because they focus too much on serving existing customers and maintaining their competitive advantage, leaving them vulnerable to innovative newcomers. Central to Christensen's thesis is the idea that successful companies face a dilemma when it comes to innovation. They must balance the needs of their current customers with the potential of disruptive technologies, a challenge that requires strategic foresight and adaptability. Through a series of compelling examples and case studies, Christensen illustrates how once dominant companies failed to recognize the threat posed by disruptive technologies, leading to their eventual downfall. The book provides a roadmap for companies to navigate the perilous waters of disruption by establishing a culture that values experimentation, embraces risk-taking, and encourages continuous learning. Christensen emphasizes the importance of creating a separate organizational structure that can focus on disruptive innovation without being constrained by the existing business model. This allows companies to explore new opportunities and cultivate the next generation of game-changing products. Here are some valuable insights extracted from this captivating book. I believe you will find them highly beneficial. Feel encouraged to explore its wisdom further and let it spark new perspectives and ideas on your journey. 1. Who needs cheap radios? We're in the United States and it's the early 1950s. The war is over. People feel hopeful. The economy is booming. More households have more disposable income than ever before, and they're spending it. That's good news for all kinds of industries, from car makers to the manufacturers of refrigerators. It's also great for consumer electronics companies like RCA and Zenith. One of their top sellers is the vacuum tube music console, a handsomely veneered cabinet with an integrated radio that sits at the center of middle-class living rooms across the nation. These consoles are well-made, sturdy objects. More to the point, they're highly engineered and sound great. All that makes them expensive, but that's not a problem. This is an age of affluence, and people can afford to pay top dollar for what matters to them, quality. And so that's what companies focus on. They tinker and improve and continue making big, expensive consoles that sound great. And that's when a small Japanese firm called Sony enters the picture. Founded in 1946 with around $6,000 startup capital, it still has fewer than 20 employees. But Sony's chairman, Akio Morita, has an idea. He takes up residence in a cheap hotel in New York City and starts negotiating a license to patented transistor technology owned by the American telecommunications company AT&T. Morita gets his license, but AT&T executives are baffled by his plan to use the technology to build small radios. Why would anyone care about small radios, they ask. His answer is cryptic. Let's see. Sony's portable transistor radio appears on the market in '55. It's a terrible radio. The static is so loud you can hardly hear the music, and the fidelity is much lower than those vacuum tube consoles. If you're an affluent household that values sound quality, there's no chance you're buying a Sony radio. But what if you don't have a lot of disposable cash? What if, in other words, you're a typical American teenager? Well, the alternative to crappy transistor radios for '50s teenagers is no radio, and so they start buying a lot of Sony radios. You can probably guess where this story is going. Sony's crappy radios give the company a crowbar to prise open the American market. And, slowly but surely, transistor technology improves. By the time it's so good that it becomes interesting to more affluent market segments, those teenagers' parents say, it's already too late for companies like RCA and Zenith to catch up to Sony. That is how Sony came to dominate the radio market in the United States. 2. Convenience trumps quality. Business analysts had a neat explanation of why established companies like RCA and Zenith end up losing out to upstarts like Sony. It goes like this. Technological change is fast and furious. You have to run to stand still. Managers, though, often lose sight of this fact. They're so focused on what works in the present that they fail to plan for the future. That's how they get picked off. Call it complacency. Call it lack of innovation. Call it bad management. 3. Why Gillette is stuck on the horns of a dilemma. Let's recap. There's sustaining innovation, and there's disruptive innovation. Sustaining innovation improves existing products. We can take Gillette as an example, a company which proudly states on its website that it'll only stop making razors when it can't make them any better. First-generation Gillette razors were fairly straightforward pieces of a kit. A two-piece safety razor with a double-edged blade attached to a reusable handle. Today's battery-powered razors, by contrast, feature 5 anti-friction blades, lubricating strips, and a precision trimmer for sideburns. In conclusion, the innovator's dilemma serves as a cautionary tale and a guide for companies looking to stay ahead in today's fast-paced marketplace. By understanding the dynamics of innovation and disruption, businesses can avoid the pitfalls that have befallen industry giants in the past. You can find the link to acquire a copy of this incredible book in the description below. Thank you for joining us on this journey through The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton M. Christensen. I hope this summary has inspired you to think differently about innovation and how companies can thrive in an era of constant change. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you found this book summary helpful, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more book summaries and insightful content. And share this uplifting summary with someone who may benefit from hearing them. Leave a comment down below if you've read this book or have any other recommendations for us. Stay tuned for our next video, where we explore more fascinating books and ideas in the world of business and beyond. Goodbye.